Good evening to everyone gathered here for today's event. With markets facing steep corrections, uncertainty is at an all time high. But with the right investment strategy, volatility can become an opportunity. We have with us Dr. Mohit Batra, founder of MarketsMojo, who will share his insights on navigating these market swings with confidence. Stay tuned in today's Q&A as we uncover strategies to safeguard and grow your portfolio in these challenging times. Let's get started. Over to you, Dr. Mohit.
Thanks a lot, Jason. A very good evening to all of you. I know the morning was not good, but I'm sure the evening should be good. It's a weekend coming, and every day in the market is a new challenge. Now, obviously, I'm going to dissect what's happening in the market today. It's very important for us to dissect and understand what is happening and when is this bleeding going to stop, and what should be our investment strategy during that particular time, right? So I think these are the two things that investors want to know, that when is this going to get over and when the rebound is going to come. That's one. And whether what should we do during such time or during the times that we are here. So and I'm also going to leave a large portion for Q&A, because I know that you guys have specific concerns that I need to listen to and respond to. With that objective, let's start the proceedings. So let me tell you what is actually happening in the market first, right? The first thing is that if you remember, close to a year back, we had said that our PE, price to book, for large, mid, and small are looking extremely exaggerated. And we have been cautious since Feb and March of last year, looking at the numbers that we were seeing, and we were very, very uncertain that if the markets can hold on to the current level. So let's understand one thing, that there was a lot of froth in the market. Money making was becoming very easy in the market. Everybody was talking about a 40-50% return, and everybody was talking about, I bought the stock, it became double in 6 months, in 3 months time. So whenever money making becomes so easy, that you're nearing the top. Having said that, even if you look at the last 1 year's PE, I'm talking about around a year back, around 10 odd months back, they were trading very high. On a 10-year average of 2.4, 2.5, we were at 4.5 for mid caps and small caps. We were marginally at 2.4, 2.5, almost at a 10-year average for large caps. So large caps was the only horizon which looked like it is not over exaggerated, but mid and small caps were looking extremely over exaggerated. So, and that is a message that repeatedly, I think, we've been giving to you over the last 6 to 9 months, that it is looking that the party can get over any time. But luckily the party lasted even after that around 9 odd months, and there is a steep correction that we're seeing today. So first is the fundamental criteria of the market was over exaggerated, and it had to come under correction. So let's just face it, that what had to happen happened, or is happening rather. Now, when the markets are on a downturn, the velocity at which the ball moves on a steep curve down, right, is that it gains double the momentum of a normal speed. It gains sometimes 4 times the momentum. And hence, the fall always is exaggerated. The negative news is always exaggerated in such kind of market scenario. So when you have this kind of a fall coming in, everybody is waiting for the world to end. And that's the reason that sometimes the index fall and your personal portfolio or any well-managed portfolio falls, the portfolio falls will be much higher than the index fall, for two reasons. One is that portfolios don't have 500 stocks. Portfolios don't have typically 50 stocks, right? So portfolios are concentrated portfolios, wherein markets are diversified, markets are averaged out. If you take an example of BSE 500, BSE 500, 500 odd stocks. So if you compare BSE 500 to your portfolio returns, you will say, "Arey yaar, mera to stock selection kharab hai." Stock selection kharab nahi hai, sir. Because that's a combination of 500 stocks coming together. You are sitting with 25, 30 stocks. So the concentrated bets will underperform in these kind of markets, which is a absolute thing, because we also outperform in better markets. So underperformance also is nothing new if you compare yourself to the index fall. So one classical mistake that we do is that we say that, okay, markets are down 1.2%, I'm down 2%, so my portfolio has something wrong. Let me do something about it. You can't do anything about it because the construct of your portfolio, which is a concentrated construct, is getting the portfolio down, not the quality of the stocks if you are invested in good quality stocks. And I'm saying that with a disclaimer that I know that most of you guys are in fact, all of you guys are Mojo premium clients and you must be invested in strong buys and buys. So basically, that is a result of the concentration of the portfolio that you manage. Over the last 3-4 months, there's always 2 lakh, there's I think round about 2 lakh crores worth of FI selling that has happened, which is a main selling that was happening. And that was, obviously the FIs were getting ready with cash in hand to see what Trump does when he comes in, and maybe there's new opportunities that will come in. He'll declare new things for which they will have an opportunity to invest in. So that was the cash that was coming out. So there was a major FI selling that was happening. But having said that, there was a part of the domestic investors, which have maintained round about 40,000 crores of new inflows in Jan. In the month of Feb, we are already at around 34, 35,000. We'll end up at around 40,000 crores. So there is a bit of a counterbalancing that was happening on the FIs, on the domestic investor side. But when a market typically behaves the way it is behaving today, if you look at the market and you see how the market opens up 2% down and then it corrects back. Then when the market in the first session opens down and towards the end of the duration picks up, right? What is the feeling that you get? What do you think is happening out there? So if you look at the F&O data, you will figure out that the F&O volumes are down only by 15-20%, which means that there is this whole retail F&O participants, which are still sitting on open positions. And every day when you see this kind of a square off that is happening towards the morning, they go in the morning and there is major square off that is happening in the mornings. And towards the end of the day, when you see a little bit of a recovery that is coming in, that's when you see the fundamental investors at play, because the market has broken up 2%, stocks are down 6%, 7%, and people are bottom fishing the stocks. So fundamental investors typically move the market up back towards the day, right? So the worrying part out here is 2-3. According to me, the FI selling is almost over. In fact, FI buying should start, and it may start in the next 1 to 2 weeks, as soon as that, or maybe in the next 1 month. But the FI buying will start. So that is point number one. The current market downfall is predominantly because of the F&O open positions, which is typically, and there's a lot of froth, not in large cap left, but in the mid and the small cap. And hence, whenever you will see the Sensex or Nifty versus BSE 500 or any other index, you will notice one peculiar thing, that Sensex is holding on with a 0.3, 0.4. But as soon as you start going towards mid and small, you will see the cutout is very wide out there. It's 3% down, 4% down, 2% down. So all of that is happening. So if I was to talk to market experts, which I've been talking a lot, the F&O volumes ideally in these kind of markets should have fallen by 40-50%, but they've fallen only by 15%. Which means that the party that was continuing on, people are still expecting that party to continue. People are carrying forward their positions. And there is a certain point in time where they can't carry on the positions and they start dumping it. So it's a very, very sad situation, not for people like us, for people who were participants in the whole derivative markets. The people who were talking for the last 2 years that, derivatives, if I do options, I make so much money and this is clean money. I make 30%, 40% and all that stuff. This is exactly what happens once in 2 years, once in 3 years, when the whole derivative community gets washed out. We have this track record for years and years where we've seen that the traders and the derivative players get washed out in one cycle and they lose more than what they ever earned by staying invested in the market. But the money was so easy to make that people were increasing their exposures out there. Regulators were increasing the margin so that the exposure can come down. They've been trying that over a period of time. They cannot suffocate an industry beyond a point in time, but I think they were doing a great job by trying to say that the margin requirements are increasing, but still people were participating out there. So the retail F&O square-offs is what is causing the jittery right now. The market going down and then recovering is a sign that there are sound investors who are buying, or there are mutual funds who are still picking up positions because of the inflow that is coming in of 40 or 1,000 crores on a monthly basis. So that is what is happening. So let's keep that as another piece out there. Now let's look at two main things, which is the US and the Trump announcements on tariffs that have come. So my take on this is that, and I'm saying that with certainty, but this is my take, is that power gets disseminated in two ways. And you know that, in a way, he's the most powerful man today, running the most powerful economy, right? The largest, I would not say powerful, but let's say the largest economy. So when you join as the newly elected president, you have to do a display of power. You don't start doing execution. So none of the things that you're seeing out here today are typically that seen to me as an execution, because, initially when the tariffs were introduced on Canada, on Mexico, and on China, within 24 hours, those tariffs were delayed by a month, because what are you trying to do is you're displaying power to have the other guy come on the table to renegotiate terms. And that is what is happening. So you're displaying power, you're saying, I will do this. And next day somebody comes and sits on the table and you readjust the terms, right? So there is, according to me, a lot of display of power that is happening. If you execute this, if tariffs are executed, and if tariffs are executed to the same length at which, or the same breadth at which he had talked about, there is going to be a big repercussion, not just on these three countries, but even on the US. China, Mexico, Canada, all of these, and plus steel and aluminum of 25%, which he's been talking about, is going to increase the prices drastically in the US, causing a huge inflation impact coming in, and reverse causing impact on the interest rates that will come in out there. So I don't think so that guy doesn't know it. He's a very sharp financial acumen guy. He understands what the impact of this would be. He understands he's just taken over as the president. When you just take over as the president, you make a statement, but you also know that the impact of that statement in the first year itself is, if you're taking the economy down, then there is going to be a very big repercussion or very, very big reputational issue. So I personally feel, with my limited knowledge, that this is a positioning or a posturing that US is doing to make sure that people come and renegotiate terms out there. And there's also an impact of a fading away of an event. Like, you have wars that happen, you have various geopolitical issues that happen, you have crises that happen. But over a period of time, they fade. Today nobody talks about the Russia-Ukraine war. It's going on, so it's going on, right? So you're not talking about Israel and Hamas is going on, it's going on. But during that time, for that 1 week, 2 week, 1 month, it causes disruption. But then there is a stalemate, time that comes in where things just become normal as the new normal. Right? So two things that can happen is that this posturing will get over soon. Even if the posturing doesn't get over, and if he takes some hard stand, according to me, that stalemate discussion or stalemate will come in, because markets have already discounted the tariffs. You can clearly see that the markets have already discounted the tariffs. People are, running helter-skelter in terms of what will happen. And this is such a crude way of how the market can behave sometimes. If you look at the corporate India, and if you now look at the budget, according to me, corporate India, which is growing at closer to 8% quarter on quarter and YOY, he's got a great story. So I don't think so there's anything. The quarterly results this time have been subdued, have been not as good as the last quarter, last to last quarter, but there is still a 8% growth that the corporate India is showing out there. Look at the budget. According to me, the budget has been the most conservative budget out here. I frankly feel that the budget was a non-event, right? So if you look at the couple of things that came out of the budget, is infrastructure going from 13,000, 15,000 odd crores to 20,000 odd crores, great story. But if you look at the middle class upliftment, which is typically the 12 lakh bracket as tax-free bracket, that's a great story again. Will that drive consumption? I don't think so. I don't think so. That is enough to drive consumption, right? Your little bit of interest, 25 basis of interest rate cut, will that drive consumption in a big way? I don't think so. These things are long-lasting impact. So budget is going towards planning the next 5-year story of India. It is not looking at the markets today. It is not looking at what it will do to the markets today. So there is a long-term story that is going in. You have the fiscal prudence that is happening, which is we're still trying to keep within the 4.5% range, the budget deficit. So you have fiscal prudence that is happening out there, but it is what corporate India is not learning is what US learned some time back is there are two ways to make money, right? When you're running a business. You run a ROE driven business where you're saying that even if my growth is slower, my ROE has to be protected. I need to deliver a 25-30% ROE. I need to deliver a 15-20% return on equity, or my bottom line has to be protected. So what I do in times where I need to expand and I don't see the market coming up, I will reduce my cost, but I will maintain my margins. What US does is they go for a volume piece because of the size of the country that they have, and they reduce their ROE expectation, but they capture the volume. So आप 100 रुपए कमा रहे हो and you want to make 25 rupees as profit. Can you earn 1,000 rupees by dropping your ROE to 10%? It's very difficult for Indian promoters because we are a very bottom line driven country, right? We are a very, very bottom line. And it's a great thing to do. I'm not saying there's anything bad out there. It's a great thing to do. But what it is not helping the promoters to understand is that capex expenditure for private sector is a must. Government has come up and done huge amount of capex investments, but private sector is not opening up and saying that I have a lot of money lying in my treasury, but should I do capex? Should I not do capex? So that comes as a little underconfidence in the economy itself, or underconfidence in the whole market itself, that whether I'll be able to grow my top line by compromising my bottom line a little bit by putting in extra capex and building an extra capacity. So according to me, that is what is the main problem, which is not a government problem, but I think it's a private sector problem where your capex expense is not just coming out and it is not giving that extra spurt. You can't have a government running in a fiscal deficit of 4.5% to keep spending where the private sectors are showing well, no, हम लोग नहीं खर्चा करेंगे because हमारा ROE खराब हो जाता है, right? So it's a situation where the private sector will have to evolve over a period of time. It's evolving of the mindset. So it is going to take a little time, but it will sooner or later happen. Now, how far is the bloodshed still going to go on? Frankly, I personally feel, and this is what I've been saying over the last 2-3 days, in fact, that we are 80 to 85% done, right? We are today, if you look at the PEs, average PE of large caps for the last 10 years, 10-year average is around 2.4. We are at 2.1. Yeah. Your small and mid cap, which is at around 2.7, 2.8, we are at 2.4. So we are way below the 10-year average. So we have fundamentally come back to below the 10-year average. So we are decently priced out there. But the decency of pricing is not what is driving this particular fall, because you're already there and you may go maybe 100 basis point down further, which is fine. So fundamentally, everything is fine. India is growing. GDP wise, we are growing. Fiscal deficit wise, we've got prudence, infrastructure spend, everything in place. Government is doing what it can do. It is trying to drive consumption, interest rate cut of 25 basis in place, right? So all of that is happening. According to me, the main culprit in all of this is the trading positions that people had taken and the square of all those trading positions that is coming, which is doing this. And trust me, that is a bubble which will burst and get over very soon, right? At the current valuations, or maybe a little lower than this also, if we have another maybe 5, 7, 8% corrections, India becomes very attractive. In fact, it may just become the most attractive, fundamentally strongest market in the world. So FI turnaround will happen soon. Now, the thing to note here, which is something that you guys should always understand, that when the FIs come back, the rally first comes from the large cap. FIs build their position on volumes. They don't get volumes in the Indian mid cap and the small cap sector. So they will look for high quality, high conviction large caps to start building up. If I have to deploy 1 lakh crores, you can only deploy 1 lakh crores in the top 100 companies. There's no other place to deploy. So when that FI cycle will start, the large caps will get a very, very large spurt of increase out there. And slowly, once the large cap starts increasing, the retail investors' confidence towards mid cap will start coming in. So mid cap and small cap will rise with a lag, but large caps, there's a sentimental buying that will keep doing in large and mid cap. But again, large and mid cap will keep being very volatile, where you will see that market is consolidating out there, but large caps will be leading the rally, if you ask me, over the next 3 to 6 months. So if we are holding a large portion of mid and small, we should be very careful, because in 3 to 6 months time, you will see a up, down, and you may have a trajectory which will go up. But if I were to today place my bet, I would typically say over next 3 to 6 months, large caps look to be extremely sound out there. Now, what should be the investment strategy out there? Now, investment strategy is very simple. And maybe I can just show you one slide. I'm not going to take your time on. Can I have the slide, please? We are in an industry. We are in an industry where 95% of investors completely do the opposite of what they know they should not do. And it is very surprising. I think it is only a drawback of our industry. I've not seen this, and I've seen in various industries, much more you can think of, but I've never seen the DNA of our industry which mirrors this particular way. To give you an example, we know that you should invest more in the falling markets. We know this. We've seen ample number of examples that smart investors look for dips to buy. Fear and greed, we know. We say that be greedy when the market is fearful, and be fearful when the market is greedy. Over the last 1 year, I have not seen any investor coming out with huge. Everybody was talking about it, but in their allocations, nobody was talking about it, right? So people were not decreasing their allocation. They say, thoda महंगा लग रहा है, but अरे चल रहा है, चलता है तो चलने दो, right? So when the greed goes on, it is so difficult for us to do any kind of profit booking, or to make sure that we recheck our allocation out there to the asset class. When the fear goes on, I've seen Number of attendees to webinar decreases by 1/10. People coming to site, traffic decreases by 1/10. किसी को देखना ही नहीं है. अरे भाई उसी टाइम तो देखना होता है. That is the time that we should be focusing, because you should be smiling today where you say that this bloodshed is happening and I'm going to buy this, and I'm going to buy this if you have the money, or I'm going to reshuffle my portfolio, remove all the junk that I wanted to always remove, but I was hoping in good markets they will go up. Even if they have gone up, let me remove it, let me reallocate to better companies because I'm now getting these companies 50-20% cheaper. I have not seen MarketsMojo investors do that. I know only data. When I look at my site data, when I look at my webinar attendees, when I look at people who want to really take, वो लोग सुनना ही नहीं चाहते. Right? People don't want to listen only. And then when the market is up 20-30%, वो बोलेंगे हमारे तो 30% हमें CAGR चाहिए, 35% CAGR चाहिए. भाई ये चाहिए होता है तो you should invest at that time, no? So there are three types of investors that I have also. Missing investors, which is 90-95% of investors, they will always take a wrong call, which is falling markets, निकाल दो भाई माल, dump कर दो, cash में बैठ जाओ, right? And when the market is going down and down and down, they smile. When the market starts going up, they are basically they're saying ये तो अभी next day it will come down, and they are non-believers in the market when it goes up, and when it goes up sustainably 15-20%, that's when they will come in. That's a trend with majority of the investors, right? So that is the missing investor. The kissing investors are decent investors. They basically say that let's take this. We will still not liquidate anything. Let's see how much this goes, but I will keep a blind eye. I'm not going to do anything to my portfolio, right? Let's see what happens. And then there are blissing investors who are the smartest of the lot. People who create immense wealth in the market are the blissing investors who basically say, I'm going to go in this market. This is the fear greed. I have read about it. I know about it. I know all investors, wealthy investors have created wealth like this. This is not an end of the market. Market will correct. How much it will correct? We have had a lot of correction. Let me do a little bit of an SIP and keep getting into the market as it keeps going down. Now, the blissing investors always have a doubt in their head. What is that doubt? So let's assume that markets corrected 10%, 12%, right? Let's assume that you invested everything by then. So आपने 12% या 15% सस्ते में ले लिया. Great companies you bought out there, right? But the market fall is still continuing. Now, when the market fall is still continuing at 15% down, you already bought. The stock has gone down, say 20% now. So what will you do is that you'll get into self-doubt. Right? You will say, अरे shit, ये तो मतलब और नीचे जा रहा है, तब मैं बेच दूं इसको या क्या करूं और मैं. Please understand, this is known as a phenomena which is a cognitive dissonance. What is cognitive dissonance? Is that if you've got something which is 15% down, it will reward you. If the stock is now 20% down, you don't have to look back. And you should be happy with you got it at 15% discount. Somebody will get it at 20% discount, but हम लोग 1% में से हैं. We are in that 1% which is getting 15-20% discount because बाकी लोग तो बेच रहे हैं ना. So the only thing you need to do is that never try to catch the bottom. And that is what I'm saying, that if you decently catch the lowers, and even if you get something 10-15%, or ask ko to aap, any stock you pick up and look at 1 week return or look at 1 month return, you're getting it 10% cheaper, 15% cheaper, maybe 20% cheaper, even large caps. So when you're looking at this kind of a fall, and you're basically saying that तो और गिरेगा तो ऐसे इस हिसाब से गिरता रहा तो एक 2 हफ्ते में तो पूरी स्टोरी खत्म हो जाएगी ना. We should have Sensex at 0, Nifty at 0, and then we should start saying that negative में भी जाना चाहिए, right? So that whole philosophy is a very immature way of looking at things, right? The matured way of the mental strength with which you come in is to make sure that you are the blissing investor who basically says that jitna bhi hai, I can allocate. I'm going to allocate during these times. So 2 things I would request you to do is either you don't touch your portfolio, which is be the kissing investor or the blissing investor. Don't be the missing investor. Don't sell out. A lot of you may have already done that, so I don't know about it. But if you've done that and you're sitting on cash, this is a great time, right? And I'm not saying this is the end of the rally, downward rally. This can continue for some more time, but 15% तो सस्ता मिल रहा है भाई, 20% सस्ता मिल रहा है, which is a great thing, because rebounds are always hockey stick. The fall is like this. In India, the rebound is like a tick mark. So that 15% discount पे जो आज आपको मिल रहा है या 20% discount पे, उसका impact you will come to know in the next 2-3 years. But for that mental courage, that staying in the game is required. It's required imminently to make sure that you are not getting out of the game. You are staying patient. You are not looking back at everyday prices, and you are going ahead, right? So we do a lot of buying in our PMS, and we are seeing the behavior of stocks on a daily basis, right? If my team tries to go and buy a particular stock, and I'm seeing that stock down 6-7%. On a daily basis, if we have to allocate say 5% into that stock, we will go and buy 1% and sit. I'm not going to wait next day. So I was having a discussion with one of the dealers, and when next day the stock was down 2%. So I said, are you buying another 1% today? He said, no, sir, आज तो 2% डाउन है, कल तो 7% डाउन था. मैंने बोला कल से और आज से तो 9% डाउन हो गया. Why won't you buy? मजा नहीं आ रहा ना, बिकॉज कल 7% डाउन था, आज 2% डाउन है, तो कल और आज में तो 9% हो गया भाई. सो व्हाई आरंट यू बाइंग, राइट? थर्ड डे इफ इट इज डाउन 1%, 10% हो गया ना 3 दिन में. व्हाई आरंट यू बाइंग? Now, in the fourth day, the stock can go down another 7%. No issues. मैंने 10% कैप्चर कर लिया डाउन साइड. Now I'll go and buy another 1%. तो मैंने 12-13% का एवरेज कर लिया उसका, राइट? बिकॉज मेरे को पता है स्टॉक इज ग्रेट. It's a strong buy stock, over 80 ka rated. So why then? This is what I was talking to our dealers and understanding that how are you positioning the buying out there, because that's exactly what I'm telling you out there. I'm not telling you Gyan book stories out here. This is exactly what we are seeing, and this is exactly what we are doing when we execute the buy trades, and we execute the sell trades also like this. Market, the stock is down 6%. Let's assume the same example, you're holding 5%. What will you do? You decided to sell that stock for whatever reason is a fundamentally weak stock, right? Will you wait the next day? The answer is no. I will get out 1%, 2%. I will start cutting it out. Next day it is up 3%. I will again cut out. So if the stock is down, then I am getting a better price. When the stock is down 6%, and then I will not wait for tomorrow to say that आज 6% टूटता है तो कल और 6% टूटना होगा. मेरा, I have decided I'm going to get out, so I'm going to get out trying to fetch the best price of the day. And when I book the best price of the day, I accumulate my price and I say that what is the average down that we've got on this particular stock, right? That, and because the stock is a good fundamental stock and it is beaten down already, right? So most of the time, our daily price movement of stocks confuses us whether we need to get out or we need to get in. So that is something that you need to be very careful about. So 2 things. Don't reduce exposure. Time to increase exposure if you can. If that capital is made for risk, if that capital is not a capital that you've lended or you've taken loan on, if it fits into your risk profile and you still have spare money, no better time to invest, right? When you are investing, don't have regrets that I bought it 10% down, now it is down 15%, because you got 10% down. Aapka price fix ho gaya 10% pe. You don't have to have any regrets. If the stock is good and it is going down and you bought at 10% and you still have money and you can buy at 15%, please buy, because you know that if the stock is a strong buy or a buy. That's point number 1. People who manage their personal portfolios. Excellent time to look at your sells and strong sells. Opportunity cost investing is what? Opportunity cost investing is दोनों stock टूटे हैं. your good stocks have also fallen and your bad stocks have also fallen, right? When you look at these two stocks and you say that दोनों ही टूट गए यार, अभी दोनों जब तक मार्केट ऊपर नहीं उतरेगी तो कैसे करेंगे, right? Now that's a classical mistake because when the market runs, both stocks will not run at the same pace. So what existing portfolio holders who are managing their own personal portfolios, please be sensible. This is the time to churn your sell stocks, irrespective of 30% down. Because opportunity cost, discount to discount, I'm getting something great at 20% down. So I'm going to shift this into this because I know when the rally backwards will come to increase, the chances of this stock going up is way higher than this stock going up. So a little bit of a cleanup and mess cleaning is what we need to do in our personal portfolios. So that is my opening remarks. Let's open this up for Q&A, Jason.
Okay, starting off with this first question by Mr. M. Ramkar. Dear Moth, want to know where FIs have invested money after pulling out from the Indian market. Are they sitting on cash? Could you please guide?
Looks like they're sitting on cash, sir, because I don't see that inflow coming in the US market as well. I think they must be waiting for 1 month of presidency to pass and then go in. Money is definitely not going to China. Yeah, the big money beneficiary today is three countries, which is US, China, and India. US market doesn't give me an impression that the money is going there. China, obviously, it's not going. So I have a possibility that it is sitting in the treasury waiting to be invested again.
Okay. Moving to this next question by Jayprakash. I'm new to MarketsMojo. I started investment by a model portfolio. I invested around 4 lakhs and the portfolio is down 17%. I've also invested in mutual fund around 6 lakhs. Should I exit from my mutual fund and put this money to model portfolio and average the stocks?
Sir, I need to know your profile to understand this better because, model portfolio versus mutual funds, there are very two different category of investing styles. Model portfolios are aggressives that we've got. Mutual fund by share 45, 50 holdings are not as aggressive as we are. It all depends on, what your risk profile is. Both are underlying is, equities, but as I said, we are very concentrated and that makes us very aggressive. So we can have high betas, which means that we may fall more than the market because we are concentrated, but our alphas are way higher. When the market turns, we go much faster than anybody else. So, that's a trade-off that you need to see. And if you're fine with the trade-off, then I think you can decide. I was listening to a forum of Prashant Jain, Bharat Bhai of ASK, and Nilesh Shah of Kotak, and this was last week. And what unanimously, very interestingly, that came out, and we were discussing, one big culprit of retail investors' fall in the markets. And the thing that one word, if you have to remember this, and you are the lucky people who will remember this always because you know that it's been discussed, is that what got discussed there is that if the retail investors can stomach the volatility, then they will not be retail anymore. Stomaching the volatility, that is exactly what I've been telling you. Stomaching that volatility to make sure that you have the power to stay in that difficult times and increase the effort. We do it in every other thing. आपको अगर काम ज्यादा है तो आप लेट आवर्स डालते हो. क्यों डालते हो? Because काम ज्यादा है, right? So it's when there is family in distress, we take a flight and reach there. Why? Because the family is in distress, right? When our kids in distress, we'll take a holiday and we sit with them. When our kids are sick, we take a holiday and sit with them. So what do? We increase attention. We increase attention to what deserves. We don't say ये kid को 4 बार बुखार आता है महीने में इसको छोड़ दूंगा मैं. I will not go and address my family concerns because that it's not valid. I will leave this job only because I've got some hard work to do out. We don't do that, right? Why do we do the opposite in markets? You should increase attention. increase attention. But historically, every single investor switches off and sits in cash, and they say that, today I was meeting actually an investor who's worth 150 CR, and I was sitting with him. And I was surprised at the line of questioning. This guy has been investing for since the time that I think, I started my career, right? That long an investor he is. He was at 150 crores, and I was sitting with him. I had coffee today in the morning with him. And what he was telling me was very interesting. He's saying, Mohit, खत्म हो जाएगा सब कुछ, क्या हो जाएगा, ये तो खत्म हो गया सब. I said, sir, what is the problem? I said, क्या हो गया, ये तो देख सब कुछ मतलब it's over. I said, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? He's holding some 100, 150 odd stocks, right? And he was talking like this. So I am saying that ये तो 150 crore वाला investor, right? People who've been in the market, and 150 crore is not because he made it from the markets, he made it from his business. So I'm not saying that you can't be that person, but if you know how to, that 150 crores to 300 crores to 400 crores journey is if you can stomach that volatility and be more attentive to what's happening out there, and how do I make sure that this is the time for surgery happens only when it's the last resort. Surgically look at your portfolio and say that this is a time for the cleanup because I'm getting everything cheaper now. Abhi mere paas small cap is not sitting at 4.5 times PE. Mid caps are not sitting. Now we are below the 10-year average. और थोड़ा कम हो जाएगा. और कितना इतना तो कैप्चर हो गया. So be surgical about it. Have the stomach for volatility. I know I'm digressing. I hope I answered your question, but I'm digressing out there because I remembered this point. That you need to make sure that volatility becomes, yeah, so what? कभी काम ज्यादा होता है, कभी कम होता है, कभी डिस्ट्रेस होता है, उसको एड्रेस करना पड़ता है. अभी वॉलेटिलिटी है तो ठीक है, और पैसा डाल देंगे, थोड़ा मैनेज करेंगे, साफ करते हैं थोड़ा पोर्टफोलियो को, दैट्स इट. बट कहाँ बाहर निकल जाते हैं, कैश में बैठ जाते हैं, अभी तो गया, खत्म हो गया, आई एम गेटिंग हाई ब्लड प्रेशर, अनलेस यू आर अ डेरिवेटिव गाय.
Okay. Moving to this next question by Avnish. Hello, Dr. Mohit. Nice to see you guiding us in turbulent periods. I request you to please select sufficient Mojo stocks so that investors can take advantage of market fall and invest more. Really surprising, hardly few Mojo stocks for creating even the model portfolios.
Yeah, so you're right that I can't create new stocks there. As in when we will start spotting stocks, they will keep coming in out there because the selection, see, when the market gets squeezed and the technicals and the results are not that good, then the selection criteria gets more stringent out there, right? So stay put. Even if you have to take the best thing you can do is create a concentrated portfolio, no issues, right? The best thing you can do is that even invest in stocks which are, today, if you look at stocks which are above 75 score and all this stuff, and the results have already out. So results have come out and they're still 75 and above. Great stocks, and they're beaten down. Everybody is beaten down today. But what I can't do is relax my parameters when the market is in a narrow phase, because if I relax my parameters, kachra will start coming in. We are not going to do that. We'll say that even if 5 stocks come in or 10 stocks come in, they are with the same tightened parameter that we used to have in any other market. We are not relaxing the parameters. That's the reason that you're seeing shorter of smaller buckets that are coming in. But don't worry. I think there is a lot of stocks that will still come in because the result season is not over as yet. And we are seeing a lot of stocks coming in. Sometimes overall grade movement, what I'm analyzing is that overall grade movement हमारा change हो गया क्या, which is typically, when stocks used to come at 87, 88 because the quarterly results have been a little subdued. वो थोड़ा अभी 78, 80 हो गया क्या. Once that happens, I can come and talk to you. But parameters, stringent parameters is something that, obviously we will not change.
Okay, this question by Vipul. Sir, I've invested approximately 11 lakhs across every section, such as Momentum Now, Mojo Stock, Stock of the Month. Or the portfolio is down by around 25%. Kindly guide what to do.
Nothing you need to do. If you have a little more money, keep investing. If you don't have, you just wait. You are not liquidating it. Don't worry about it. Right? These are stocks, Momentum Now, Turnaround, and all of these stocks and Stock of the Week and Stock of the Month are hand-picked stocks. If I have to get out of these stocks, you will get an update from us. But please don't take a self call and get out of it. Rebound will be very, very much sharper than the fall. The same stocks that you see 6% down in a day, you will see 6% up in a day. So you have to just, have the trust, stomach the volatility, let it happen, go through it. It is something which is inevitable. You can't help it. And, it's nothing wrong with the companies that have got picked up out there. It is a market and the sentiment which is driving it. And you have to let that storm pass before you put your head up. But don't go out of the storm.
Okay, so we have an investor, Mr. Monty, is a bit upset with the current market fall. He's asking, sir, ऐसे मार्केट में स्टॉक देना बंद कर दो अगर मार्केट नीचे है तो सारे स्टॉक्स भी धूल चाट रहे हैं.
अभी मैं इतना बोल के सर, क्या नाम है आपका सर?
His name is Monty.
मिस्टर मोंटी जी, इतना लंबा 1 घंटे का लेक्चर दिया आपने, पूरा उस पर मट्टी डाल दिया. इसी टाइम पे स्टॉक देना चाहिए सर. आप उल्टा बोल रहे हैं. वही वही सब वही मैं पिछले 6 साल से आप लोगों को सिखा रहा हूं. आज भी आप उल्टा ही बोलेंगे. इसी टाइम पे तो स्टॉक देना चाहिए. कब देना चाहिए और स्टॉक बताइए आप मुझे. जब मार्केट वैसे ही 25% तेजी पे चल रहा है तब आपको स्टॉक दूं मैं? हायर वैल्यूएशन पे दूं, 4 टाइम पीई पे दूं, 4.5 6 पे पीई पे दूं, 90 90 के पीई पे स्टॉक पड़े हुए हैं सर, वो उस टाइम पे दूं आपको मैं? वो सब तो यू बेसिकली शुड से दी अदर थिंग कि अरे इसी मार्केट में तो दैट फर्स्ट इन्वेस्टर सेड द सेम थिंग सर, इस मार्केट में अच्छे कोई आप हमें और स्टॉक बताइए ना. दैट इज व्हाट यू शुड बी टॉकिंग अबाउट. यू आर सेइंग द स्टॉक मत दीजिए आप मैं आप तो बिल्कुल यू आर टॉकिंग द सेम थिंग दैट आई एम ट्राइंग टू रिवर्स हियर सर. आई एम सॉरी बट यही दैट दिस इज व्हाट आई एम सेइंग, दैट एंगर एंड एजिटेशन इज नॉट गोइंग टू लीड यू एनीवेयर. It's not going to lead you anywhere. Poise and making sure that you're stomaching this and saying that okay now अभी मेरे को 25% नीचे क्या मिल रहा है सामान, 20% नीचे क्या मिल रहा है. सेल पे तो आप लोग सब पहुंच जाते हैं. होते हैं ना, हम लोग पहुंचते हैं ना सेल पे. जहां भी देर इज अ वी आर इंडियंस इंक्लूडिंग मी. मेरे को 25% सेल मिल जाए तो मैं तो घुस जाता हूँ वहां पे. स्टॉक सेल पे नहीं मिल रहा है वो नहीं लेंगे हम लोग, लेकिन अगर 25% सेल पे मिल रहा है तो मैं तो घुस जाता हूँ. So we will take all of that. We will buy things on sale, but when the stocks come on sale, we said no, 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 boss. अभी तो मैं अपना सामान भी घर से लाके दे देता हूँ तेरे को. That's a reverse philosophy that we are adopting out here. So, sir, my job is to give you the stocks at this time. My job is to force you to listen to all your anger, take all the anger, but still tell you that what you're doing is wrong, and I will call a spade, because this is the time where you need to put in. This is not the time to से दैट आप तो अपना बिजनेस ही बंद कर दो, अभी तो स्टॉक ही मत दो हमें. अब क्यों नहीं दूं भाई, मैं तो अभी दूंगा आपको स्टॉक. इनफैक्ट इफ आई कैन गिव यू अ स्टॉक राइट नाउ, आई तो एवरी डे आई बीन आस्किंग माय सीआईओ कोई नया स्टॉक आ रहा है क्या मास्टर में. बताओ यार कौन सा स्टॉक आ रहा है मास्टर में, बिकॉज इससे अच्छा प्राइस कब मिलेगा अपने को. सॉरी सर, आई डिसएग्री देयर.
Okay, moving to this next particular question by Naveen. Given the fall in INR versus USD, the net dollar return of FIs are close to those of US bonds. Any reason for our optimism that FIs would return anytime soon? Also, are middle class investors through SIPs providing liquidity for FIs to exit?
Sorry, say that again. The second question.
Are the middle class investors through a form of SIP providing enough liquidity for FIs to exit?
Yeah, no, liquidity. There is no dearth of liquidity in the market. There is no dearth of. Don't think that there is no liquidity in the market. Market में liquidity हरदम होता ही है, नहीं तो market अभी 30-40% नीचे होता था. There will be sellers always standing out there. So there is liquidity, enough liquidity in the market. 35 to 40% of the market cap is driven by today the domestic investors. We have on an average for 35-40% sitting with the promoters, and we have 20-25% with the FIs. So we have no dearth of money to take that. So there is no concern out there. And I think investors, you are basically saying FIs went out after the depreciation. 5% का depreciation हुआ है सर. कितना रैली खेल के गए हैं वो लोग. आपको लगता है कि वो क्या मतलब 10% पे बुक करके गए प्रॉफिट. वो तो अपना खेल के गए हैं. वी आर सफरिंग हियर बिकॉज हम करनी हमारी है, उनकी नहीं है. बिकॉज वी आर द वंस हु टेक डेरिवेटिव पोजीशंस. वी आर द वंस हु आर कोलैप्सिंग द मार्केट राइट नाउ एंड टेकिंग डेरिवेटिव. एफआई का माल जितना आ रहा है उससे तो हम मतलब उठा लेंगे उतना माल. वी कैन पिक अप दैट माल, और नहीं भी उठा पाए, सो यू आर टुडे टॉकिंग अबाउट the downfall can be 1, 2, 3, 4%, but this kind of a thing is not FIs. It is our own doing. It's our greed. हमको पैसा डबल करना है ना हर महीने, तो और 50% रिटर्न कमाना है, तो ऐसे ही होता है फिर। वी हैव बीन टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस, मैं तो ये 6 साल से ड्रम बजा रहा हूँ, कोई सुनता नहीं है। आई हैव बीन प्लेइंग दिस ड्रम फॉर 6 years नाउ, दैट प्लीज डोंट डू दिस, राइट? रेगुलेटर्स आर टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस, दे आर इंक्रीजिंग द मार्जिन, दैट डोंट डू दिस। लेकिन सबको जीरोधा पे जाके ट्रेड करने का है, सबको जाके एंजल और अपस्टॉक्स पे ट्रेड करने का है। क्यों करने का ट्रेड भाई? क्योंकि 20 रुपए में ट्रेड होता है। अरे भाई, 20 रुपए में ट्रेड से क्या करने का आपको? पैसा तो आपको बनाना है ना। लेकिन 10, 20 रुपीज ट्रेड लॉट से ही सब कुछ करने का है। Today, with the influx of the new retail investors that came into the market, वो जो when we talk about हमारा इतना 5 करोड़ 10 करोड़ डीमेट अकाउंट हो गए, अभी देखना आप कहाँ हो जाएंगे। मैंने पहले भी बोला था कि ये सब के सब आप 1/3 हो जाएंगे, 1/10 हो जाएंगे, ये सब फ्रॉड निकल जाएगा। बिकॉज एवरी 90% ऑफ द वॉल्यूम, 95% ऑफ द वॉल्यूम इन दिस कंट्री इज F&O। Suffer you have to do, I have to suffer, so we have to be extra patience। निकलने दो इनको। Jason, we have one more question, time for one more question.
Yes. I would like to pick this one question, Bashar, and a few other investors are also writing this. Certain news channels say that unless the government comes up with something interesting to rejig our markets, the FI selling is going to continue. And they once start a run on, no amount of DI buying is going to negate the huge FI selling. They are suggesting to sell all and stay out of the markets for at least a year. What's your take on this?
That's bullshit. दैट्स बुलशिट, कंप्लीट बुलशिट। गवर्नमेंट क्या करेगा इसके अंदर आके? सर गवर्नमेंट कर रहा है ना। गवर्नमेंट क्या करेगा बॉस? वो आपको 6, 6.5% जीडीपी ग्रोथ दे रहा है, 7% भी देगा इस बार, बोल रहा है दे विल ट्राई एंड अचीव ए 7% मार्कर। क्या करेगा गवर्नमेंट? आपके घर में आके पैसे देगा आपको, जो आपके पैसे लुट गए? सो दिस इज कंप्लीटली इडियोटिक वे ऑफ टॉकिंग, दीज आर कंप्लीटली स्टूपिड वे ऑफ टॉकिंग। आई डोंट वांट टू से एनीथिंग मोर देन दैट, बिकॉज यू नो एक तो आपको टीवी पे आने ही नहीं देना चाहिए ये सब चीजों के लिए। 2 दिन में देखना, मार्केट अगर 5% ऊपर गया तो वही लोग टीवी पे आके बोलेंगे बहुत दिस इज होता है, इतना 15% हो गया है, पी का रेशियो इतना है, ये इतना इतना ग्रेट टाइम टू इन्वेस्ट। प्लीज डोंट लिसन टू ऑल दिस। वी आर देयर, नो, वी कमिंग विद इन फ्रंट ऑफ यू एवरी डे, नो। और हम तो पिछले 1 साल से आपके सामने आ रहे हैं ना। मतलब व्हेन वी हैड एक्सपेक्टेड द मार्केट टू गो डाउन, वी वर आपने गाली दी ना हमें। मैंने तो आपको आई टोल्ड यू भी नहीं बोला इस स्टार्ट ऑफ द वेबिनार में, बिकॉज हम तो जैन फेब से आपको ये बोल रहे हैं यार। और हमारी तो पिट गई ना, बिकॉज वी टुक सम कैश कॉल्स, वी वर सिटिंग, वी सेड ये तो हो ही नहीं सकता है, नहीं हो सकता, मार्केट इज टू ओवर वैल्यूड। हमने हर बार आपको आके बोला कि 10-15% का, कब से बोल रहा हूं मैं ये, कि यू विल हैव अ 10-15% करेक्शन, यू विल हैव अ 10-15% करेक्शन, बट पार्टी वॉज गोइंग ऑन। अब हो गया था, बोल रहा है यार ये तो 15% करेक्शन हो गया, 10% करेक्शन हो गया, तो होना ही था वो तो होना ही था। दैट वॉज समथिंग दैट वॉज बाउंड टू हैपन। नाउ हिलिए मत उसमें से, don't move around from there, right? Because now if you move, the pain will be much higher, because you will not be able to catch the upside then. I can bet you that the end of this year you will still be in double digit returns। तो ये सब बेकार की बातें हैं जो, मतलब घर पे कोई सुनता नहीं तो टीवी पे आके बोलो यार उल्टा सीधा कुछ भी। 1 साल बाहर मार्केट के बाहर बैठ जाओ, ऐसा कभी हुआ है क्या? अरे सर ये देखिए, आपको गिव मी द स्क्रीन।
Yeah.
Recovery will be fast and unpredictable। Implement what you know, we've been teaching you this, implement what you know। ये देखिए आप, सितंबर 2001 की बात करता हूं। सितंबर 2001 9/11 अटैक्स हुआ, यूएस मार्केट फेल बाय 18%, इराक इन्वेजन हुआ, एनडीए हारा, यूपीए फॉर्म्स गवर्नमेंट, क्रूड प्राइस इंक्रीज बाय 40%। सितंबर 1 टू सितंबर 6, 4 लाख करोड़ बिकेम 31 लाख करोड़। 5 टाइम मार्केट भाग गया ये सब होने के बाद। 5 नहीं, 7 टाइम, 8 टाइम, राइट? अगले 5 साल देखते हैं, 2006 से देखते हैं, 2006 से 2011, सब कुछ हुआ, न्यूक्लियर टेस्ट हुए, यूएस फर्स्ट टाइम क्रॉस $9 ट्रिलियन ऑफ डेट, ग्लोबल फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस हुआ सर, लीमन चला गया, 2008 हुआ, लोकसभा इलेक्शन का, स्वाइन फ्लू आया, राइट? मार्केट इन 06 to 011, 2011, from 31 lakh crores went to 60 lakh crores, डबल हो गया। रहना होता है मार्केट में। 2011 देखिए आप, 2011 से 2016 का देखिए, अभी फिर कुछ नहीं हुआ। France and 8 other Euro countries got sovereign credit downgrades. Taper tantrum happened. Eurozone flattened. ISIS conflict. Chinese market crashed by more than 40%. What happened? Same 5-year period. September 2011 to September 2006, our market cap reached to 121 lakh crores. और देख लेते हैं, 2016 से 2022 देखिए आप, कुछ नहीं हुआ। ब्रेक्सिट pushes 5-year inflation high, faulty implementation of GST, हमारा ILFS crisis, US China trade war, कोविड हुआ, कहाँ गया मार्केट कैप? डबल्ड। लेट्स सी नाउ 2020 से 22 से अभी देख लेते हैं। 2020 से मैं अभी फेब का डेटा देता हूं आपको, 2025, 270 has become 400। 3 साल और हैं। मैं आपको ये आपको मैं आप स्लाइड जब नेक्स्ट दिखाऊंगा ना, 2 साल बाद, तो ये होगा 600। ये तो सब चलता रहेगा। ऑल ऑफ दिस विल कीप गोइंग ऑन। वैल्यूएशंस वर हाई, दे वर करिंग करेक्टेड, सो इसमें क्या प्रॉब्लम क्या है?
Okay,
एनी
Mr.
मोर
Moon,
वर्क?
that's QnA, sir. Yeah.
I am going to come and thrash you guys like the way you thrashed me on a weekly basis now, so that I keep correcting the course. I hope you guys don't mind my way of doing this, but take the right calls. Take the right calls. Difficult to take the right calls in difficult times, but I'm telling you, you guys will thank me later on. With that note, thank you and good night, and have a good weekend. And we will again see the song and dance on Monday.